Adapted from archaic translation by Robert Chalmers. Jataka number 56. Kañcanakkhandha-Jātaka. When gladness. This story was told by the master while at Shravasti city, about a certain brother. Tradition says that through hearing the master preach, a young gentleman of Shravasti city gave his heart to the precious faith and became a brother. His teachers and masters proceeded to instruct him in the whole of the 10 rules of morality, one after the other. Explained to him the short, the medium, and the long moralities. Set on the morality which rests on self-restraint according to the Padamokha. The morality which rests on self-restraint as to the senses, the morality which rests on a blameless walk of life, the morality which relates to the way a brother may use the necessities. Thought the young beginner, there is a tremendous lot of this morality, and I shall undoubtedly fail to fulfill all I have vowed. Yet what is the good of being a brother at all, if one cannot keep the rules of morality? My best course is to go back to the world, take a wife and rear children, living a life of almsgiving and other good works. So he told his superiors what he thought, saying that he proposed to return to the lower state of a layman, and wished to hand back his bowl and robes. Well, if it be so with you, said they, at least take leave of the Buddha before you go. And they brought the young man before the master in the hall of truth. Why, brethren, said the master, are you bringing this brother to me against his will? Sir, he said that morality was more than he could observe, and wanted to give back his robes and bowl. So we took him and brought him to you. But why, brethren, asked the master, did you burden him with so much? He can do what he can, but no more. Do not make this mistake again, and leave me to decide what should be done in the case. Then, turning to the young brother, the master said, Come, brother. What concern have you with morality in the mass? Do you think you could obey just 3 moral rules? Oh, yes, sir. Well now, watch and guard the 3 avenues of the voice, the mind, and the body. Do no evil whether in word, or thought, or act. Cease not to be a brother, but go hence and obey just these 3 rules. Yes, indeed, sir, I will keep them, here exclaimed the glad young man, and back he went with his teachers again. And as he was keeping his 3 rules, he thought within himself, I had the whole of morality told me by my instructors. But because they were not the Buddha, they could not make me grasp even this much. Whereas the all-enlightened one, by reason of his Buddhahood, and of his being the Lord of Truth, has expressed so much morality in only 3 rules concerning the avenues, and has made me understand it clearly. Truly, a very present help has the Master been to me. And he won insight and in a few days attained arhatship. When this came to the ears of the brethren, they spoke of it when met together in the hall of truth, telling how the brother, who was going back to the world because he could not hope to fulfill morality, had been provided by the Master with 3 rules embodying the whole of morality, and had been made to grasp those 3 rules, and so had been enabled by the Master to win arhatship. How marvelous, they cried, was the Buddha. Entering the hall at this point, and learning on inquiry the subject of their talk, the Master said, Brethren, even a heavy burden becomes light, if taken piecemeal. And thus the wise and good of past times, on finding a huge mass of gold too heavy to lift, first broke it up and then were enabled to bear their treasure away piece by piece. So saying, he told this story of the past. Once upon a time when Brahmadatta was reigning in Benares, the bodhisattva came to life as a farmer in a village, and was ploughing one day in a field where once stood a village. Now, in past days, a wealthy merchant had died, leaving buried in this field a huge bar of gold, as thick round as a man's thigh, and 4 whole arm lengths in length. And full on this bar struck the bodhisattva's plough, and there stuck fast. Taking it to be a spreading root of a tree, he dug it out. But discovering its real nature, he set to work to clean the dirt off the gold. The day's work done, at sunset he laid aside his plough and gear, and strained to shoulder his treasure trove and walk off with it. But, as he could not so much as lift it, he sat down before it and fell in thinking what uses he would put it to. I'll have so much to live on, so much to bury as a treasure, so much to trade with, and so much for charity and good works, thought he to himself, and accordingly cut the gold into 4 division, made his burden easy to carry. And he took home the lumps of gold. After a life of charity and other good works, he passed away to fare thereafter according to his deeds. His lesson ended, the master, as Buddha, recited this stanza. When gladness fills the heart and fills the mind. When righteousness is practiced, peace to win. He who so walks shall gain the victory, and all the chains utterly destroy. And when the master had thus led his teaching up to arhatship as its crowning point, he explained the relation and identified the birth by saying, in those days I myself was the man who got the nugget of gold. Jataka number 57. Vānarinda-Jātaka. Whosoever, O Monkey King. This story was told by the master, while at the bamboo grove, about Devdutta's going about to kill him. Being informed of Devdutta's murderous intent, the master said, "This is not the first time, brethren, that Devdutta has gone about seeking to kill me. He did just the same in past days, but failed to work his wicked will." And so saying, he told this story of the past. Once upon a time when Brahmadatta was reigning in Benares, the bodhisattva came to life again as a monkey. When full grown, he was as big as a mare's young animal and enormously strong. He lived alone on the banks of a river, in the middle of which was an island on which grew mangoes and breadfruits, and other fruit trees. And in midstream, halfway between the island and the river bank, a solitary rock rose out of the water. Being as strong as an elephant, the bodhisattva used to leap from the bank onto this rock and from there onto the island. Here he would eat his fill of the fruits that grew on the island, returning at evening by the way he came. And such was his life from day to day. Now there lived in those days in that river a crocodile and his mate. And she, being with young, was led by the side of the bodhisattva journeying to and fro to conceive a longing for the monkey's heart to eat. So she begged her lord to catch the monkey for her. Promising that she should have her fancy, the crocodile went off and took his stand on the rock, meaning to catch the monkey on his evening journey home. After moving about the island all day, the bodhisattva looked out at evening towards the rock and wondered why the rock stood so high out of the water. For the story goes that the bodhisattva always marked the exact height of the water in the river, and of the rock in the water. So, when he saw that, though the water stood at the same level, the rock seemed to stand higher out of the water, he suspected that a crocodile might be lurking there to catch him. And, in order to find out the facts of the case, he shouted, as though addressing the rock, "Hi! Rock!" And, as no reply came back, he shouted 3 times, "Hi! Rock!" And as the rock still kept silence, the monkey called out, "How comes it, friend rock, that you won't answer me today?" "Oh!" thought the crocodile. "So the rock's in the habit of answering the monkey. I must answer for the rock today." Accordingly, he shouted, "Yes, monkey." "What is it?" "Who are you?" said the bodhisattva. "I'm a crocodile." "What are you sitting on that rock for?" "To catch you and eat your heart." As there was no other way back, the only thing to be done was to outwit the crocodile. So the bodhisattva cried out, "There's no help for it then but to give myself up to you. Open your mouth and catch me when I jump." Now you must know that when crocodiles open their mouths, their eyes shut. So, when this crocodile unsuspiciously opened his mouth, his eyes shut. And there he waited with closed eyes and open jaws. Seeing this, the wily monkey made a jump onto the crocodile's head, and from there, with a spring like lightning, gained the bank. When the cleverness of this feat dawned on the crocodile, he said, "Monkey, he that in this world possesses the 4 virtues overcomes his rivals. And you, I think, possess all 4. And, so saying, he repeated the stanza. Whose, O Monkey King, like you, combines truth, foresight, fixed resolve, and fearlessness, shall see his defeated rivals turn and flee. And with this praise of the bodhisattva, the crocodile took himself to his own living place. Said the master, "This is not the first time then, brethren, that Devdatta has gone about seeking to kill me. He did just the same in past days too." And, having ended his lesson, the master explained the relation and identified the birth by saying, Devdatta was the crocodile of those days, the Brahmin girl Chincha was the crocodile's wife, and I myself the monkey king. Source: adapted from archaic translation by Robert Chalmers. Jataka number 58. Tayodhamma-Jātaka. Whosoever, like you. This story was told by the master while at the bamboo grove, also upon the subject of going about to kill. Once upon a time when Brahmadatta was reigning in Benares, Devdatta came to life again as a monkey, and lived near the Himalayas as the lord of a tribe of monkeys, all of his own offspring. Filled with worry that his male offspring might grow up to oust him from his lordship, he used to castrate them all with his teeth. Now the bodhisattva had been begotten by this same monkey. And his mother, in order to save her unborn progeny, stole away to a forest at the foot of the mountain, where in due season she gave birth to the bodhisattva. And when he was full grown and had come to years of understanding, he was gifted with marvelous strength. "Where is my father?" said he one day to his mother. "He dwells at the foot of a certain mountain, no son," she replied, "and is king of a tribe of monkeys. Take me to see him, mother." "Not so, my son. For your father is so afraid of being supplanted by his sons that he castrates them all with his teeth." "Never mind. Take me there, mother," said the bodhisattva. "I shall know what to do." So she took him with her to the old monkey. At sight of his son, the old monkey, feeling sure that the bodhisattva would grow up to remove him, resolved by a feigned embrace to crush the life out of the bodhisattva. "Ah! My boy!" he cried. "Where have you been all this long time?" And, making a show of embracing the bodhisattva, he hugged him like a vice. But the bodhisattva, who was as strong as an elephant, returned the hug so mightily that his father's ribs were like to break. Then thought the old monkey, "This son of mine, if he grows up, will certainly kill me." Thinking about how to kill the bodhisattva first, he thought of a certain lake hard by, where an ogre lived who might eat him. So he said to the bodhisattva, "I'm old now, my boy, and should like to hand over the tribe to you. Today you shall be made king. In a lake hard by grow 2 kinds of water lily, 3 kinds of blue lotus, and 5 kinds of white lotus. Go and pluck me some." "Yes, father," answered the bodhisattva. And off he started. Approaching the lake with caution, he studied the footprints on its banks and noticed how all of them led down to the water, but none ever came back. Realizing that the lake was haunted by an ogre, he thought that his father, being unable himself to kill him, wished to get him killed by the ogre. "But I'll get the lotuses," said he, without going into the water at all. So he went to a dry spot, and taking a run leaped from the bank. In his jump, as he was clearing the water, he plucked 2 flowers which grew up above the surface of the water, and descended with them on the opposite bank. On his way back, he plucked 2 more in like manner, as he jumped. And so made a heap on both sides of the lake, but always keeping out of the ogre's watery domain. When he had plucked as many as he thought he could carry across, and was gathering together those on one bank, the astonished ogre exclaimed, "I've lived a long time in this lake, but I never saw even a human being so wonderfully clever. Here is this monkey who has plucked all the flowers he wants, and yet has kept safely out of range of my power." And, parting the waters apart, the ogre came up out of the lake to where the bodhisattva stood, and addressed him thus, "O king of the monkeys, he that has 3 qualities shall have the mastery over his enemies. And you, I think, have all 3. And, so saying, he repeated the stanza in the bodhisattva's praise. Whose, like you, O Monkey King, combines dexterity and valor and resource, shall see his defeated rival turn and flee. His praises ended, the ogre asked the bodhisattva why he was gathering the flowers. My father is minded to make me king of his tribe, said the bodhisattva, and that is why I am gathering them. But one so exceptional as you should not carry flowers, exclaimed the ogre. I will carry them for you. And so saying, he plucked up the flowers and followed with them in the rear of the bodhisattva. Seeing this from afar, the bodhisattva's father knew that his plot had failed. I sent my son to fall a prey to the ogre, and here he is returning safe and sound, with the ogre humbly carrying his flowers for him. I am undone, cried the old monkey, and his heart burst apart into 7 pieces, so that he died then and there. And all the other monkeys met together and chose the bodhisattva to be their king. His lesson ended, the master explained the relation and identified the birth by saying, Devdutta was then the king of the monkeys, and I his son.